All right, it's 9 o'clock straight up. We are going live. I see the counter counting. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another installment of Get a Clue in 52 for coaches, myself included. And we're going to add Sue. Hello, Sue. Thank you for arriving. It's nice to see you. I'll say, as always, you're so consistent in your support of what we're doing here. Get a Clue in 52 for coaches. By now, you all know. Let me go ahead and actually I'm going to get to the But now you all know the Get a Clue in 52 series really quickly. It started back in 2019 when I wrote the original Get a Clue in 52 tips that would give me a reason to get online and get it and stream into social media and create content and be visible and create hey, let me read a tip. Let me have a reason, some content, but then otherwise, you know, start a conversation once a week. If I have a conversation, it feels good. So we organized it into 5 categories. The original categories were accountability, communication, marketing, networking, and sales. I read one tip from this book every Sunday night at 8 p.m. in 2020. Very memorable year for all of us, I'm sure. And I found all the mistakes in it. And then I endeavored to improve all of those mistakes. So we came out with this. And then I read all of the tips again every Sunday night. But instead of streaming it to Facebook, I streamed into YouTube. So now I had 2 social media channels that were populated with tip readings for the entire book. And I kind of got into this rhythm after doing it for 2 years straight. I ended up working with a client of mine on their 52 tips book, Vipul Dial. I helped him organize and structure this and gave him a lot of support for this book, Give Your Way to the Top. It's fantastic. And he read this every Tuesday night for a year. And then we collaborated on a tips book, which is the entrepreneur edition of Get a Clue in 52. So all of these 5 categories are about being an entrepreneur: personal branding, business acumen, business ownership, leadership and influence, and then finally work-life balance. And we did it in each of our brandings, as you can see, my branding and his branding. So last year, we would get online and we would read one tip into my social media. We'd get on Zoom and stream into one of my social media channels, reading out of my branding. And then half hour later, we would get onto his channel and read out of his branding and stream into his social media channel. So that was a lot of fun. Very collaborative, very fun. Again, we're creating content, populating social media channels, creating conversations that people can join, having a lot of fun with that. In between, I wrote this little thing called the Integrity Game. Different story, different time, but I'm promoting this wildly these days, using it at San Diego State University to get learners engaged. This went to #1 on Amazon last year. We built a group coaching program around it. You're going to hear more about the Integrity Game. But what this is all about is what we decided to do this year with Get a Clue in 52. I'm going to do one of these, I think, every year for a decade or so, maybe longer. I've already got ideas for the next several editions of Get a Clue in 52 that we can do. And I decided to do this one, the theme or what's the ties that bind the 5 categories this year. It's about being a coach and building a coaching practice and earning money as a coach. And that's at core what it's all about. What we are learning, of course, and what I'm trying to emphasize as much as I can, is that everything that I would teach a coach about how to build a coaching practice, or what I went through when I was building my coaching practice, is what I would find a way to map that for any form of leadership. So whether you're a broker or an agent or a supervisor or a manager, a director, an advisor, a committee chair, any form of leadership, it comes down to getting people engaged, providing motivation, and providing accountability, right? So when we're doing that as a coach for money to build a coaching practice or build a business or a coaching business, etc., with that in mind, the 5 categories that I created for this volume are self-promotion, which we've already covered the 11 tips there. And the category that we're in now is engagement or enrollment. And we're almost done covering this category. We've got 9 tips in this category before we move on to tips on motivation, tips on accountability. And then the final 12 tips of the book are all about practice building, which is having fun with Org Chart 101. And I'm going to have a lot of fun every week on the last 12 tips, because I was kind of silly. By the time I got to the end of writing the book, I was almost getting a little delirious, right, with the time that I was spending by myself, cooped up in a home. Not cooped up, but I kind of locked myself away to make sure I got the book done in time. Sue, you remember, from Thanksgiving through December last year, coming off the 90-day challenge, when I would go house sit in Vegas and hibernate and just write and write and write. I was bouncing off the walls a little bit and really having some stream of consciousness fun. So my writing at the end, these last 12 tips, is very stream of consciousness, very jovial, very animated, very almost musical and rhythmic. I can't wait to get to those 12 tips, but we got a lot of stuff to work through in the meanwhile. So let me go ahead and get into it. As always, Get a Clue in 52 is dedicated to my family. Everything exists because my wife and kids are awesome, and I need to feel like I deserve them every day. So I try to make people smile and make people think, and combine those two if I can into something better than what they had before. And thank you to Troy Hoffman, founder of Simplurus and a friend, and really, really just amazing source of how should I say, not just inspiration, but like the how-to of it all. He's been there, done it. Everything in personal, professional growth, as well as founding companies and working with founders and fractional founding. So when you think founder, you think Troy, and he wrote the foreword for this book, and I'm really grateful. Thank you, Troy. And then these tips here that I'm going through quickly, including their Klubi snacks, I'm not going to elaborate on any of them, but they make up the 11 tips in the self-promotion section. Again, it starts with us like learning how to be a coach, learning how to coach, calling ourselves a coach. Then we got to stop calling ourselves a coach, and we're always more than a coach, and we got to get clear about who we're trying to work with, and who we are, and what else we are, why we're doing it. We need to come to make peace with the I deserve to earn money as a coach part, and all the other mindset issues on converting prospects to clients. But we're not there yet in this stage of the book. Well, actually, when we get to 9 tips, right? We've got 9 tips coming up on enrolling, but it starts with all of those 11 tips in self-promotion. So to actually spend a little bit more time here and build up to today's tip, when we got to tip 12 of the book overall, we're in the first tip of engagement or enrollment. So now I'm not promoting. I'm not turning somebody that I don't know, a John Doe or a Jane Doe, into a lead, where now I know their name, their phone number, and their email, or their handle on social. But a prospect, somebody I know their name and phone number and contact information, to now somebody I know to be potentially interested in what I have to offer is coaching, right? So now we're in the section of tips, 9 tips on how do we convert. And we talked about in the last tip of self-promotion, one way to self-promote is to demonstrate, give a demonstration of who you are, what you do, how you do it, as a function of promoting. One way to promote yourself is to demonstrate yourself. So how does that play out in coaching? 2 pink spoons, like Baskin Robbins and the free ice cream samples that you'll get, right? So not 1, but 2, right? And there's reasons for all of this. And you've been invited to email me and ask me for the video about 9 reasons why we offer 2 complimentary coaching sessions instead of 0, 1, or more than 2. But now we're getting into it, right? So when we get into out of self-promotion and into enrollment or engagement, how do we get clients? How do we get permission to lead? And I'm writing all of this for coaches that want to make money coaching, that deserve to make money coaching. How do I get clients? How do I make more money as a coach? How do I get paid? How do I convert? Right? I'm telling you how I did it. And, it's worked for others as well that I've trained. So here we go. So first of all, you got to get your mind right? You can't build a mansion on top of quicksand. So you have to resolve and make peace with the it's not about me, it's all about me dilemma. So yeah, we're service providers. Yeah, we're coaches. The reason that we want to make money in this profession is because we know we have a passion and an acumen for helping others, right? So sometimes our mindset is service, selfless, service, selfless. But that mindset won't help us when it's time for us to enroll. We deserve to be paid for what we're doing. And if we're completely 100% selfless, we might miss the boat when it's time to secure our mask first. So it's all about us, right? So, who are you going to coach if you're not getting paid for coaching? How are you going to keep coaching? How many people, unless you're independently wealthy already, you don't need money at all, and you're coaching as a volunteer, et cetera, right on, cool. You still want people engaged in the coaching relationship, right? And so a lot of these tips are still important to follow. So we have to resolve the secure our mask first, be about others, all about us, not about us. You got to resolve that and try to bring those into some sort of balance so that they're not diluting each other. Some people that really, really, really need the money so much might try to smoke and mirror and browbeat somebody and use snake oil salesperson into a coaching relationship. And somebody that doesn't need the money enough might not get the buy-in that they need from the prospect to really be effective in coaching them, right? So it all needs to be brought into balance. It's all about me, it's not about me. Make peace with both and bring them into balance. Now, the second tip when we talk about enrolling on our way towards conducting these complimentary coaching sessions is making sure you set expectations. All of them include, like, from budget 90 minutes for the first session, budget 60 minutes for the second session. At the end of the second session, you'll know if you want me to be your coach, and we'll talk about that. You have to set that expectation and make sure you let them know at the end of the second session, because you need a boundary, and there's all these other reasons why, right? But you got to set that expectation, all of them. That's what I mean by all of the expectations. Be clear, preview, signpost, forecast, test, whatever you want to call it. Call it transparency, call it being upfront, call it being whatever you want to call it, but make sure you set the expectation that at the end of 2.5 hours, 2 complimentary coaching sessions, I'm going to ask you if you want me to be your coach. Is that fair? It's fair. Okay. All right. Moving on. Tip number 14 is to begin and start. You're conducting complimentary session number 1 now. They've showed up to the session. They're in the session. And the very first thing that you need to do, however you do it, is to build authentic rapport. And I'm not talking about going into somebody's office and seeing a picture of a boat and saying, oh, I love boats too, and now believing you have rapport. Takes more work than that, takes more strategy than that, takes more authenticity than that, takes more patience, takes more love, takes more vulnerability, takes more. So we've given you some tips on how to do all of that. And of course, right, for me, I build myself up to the point after being transparent and letting somebody ask all the questions that they could possibly ask. Then I get the opportunity to be investigative, the investigator. I really want to, really kind of, peel layers of the onion, which we'll talk about. But I really want to know, I really want to ask great questions so that I've got great stuff to listen to in a nutshell. And we all know that we need to peel layers of the onion as coaches, but what CICR does is it gives 4 slices into that onion and makes it easier to peel, not just for us to peel it, but what we really want the prospect to do is to peel the onion themselves. And if we just create those slices, then they can peel themselves apart a little bit, which is much less threatening for them. And if they can access their own answers and start communicating what they feel they need to either change, improve, create, or remove, now you can agree on a label or a term that represents the area of change they seek. Now you're getting somewhere. All right. But it's not just identifying an area of change that they seek. What we need to then do is figure out, well, how bad? You say that this is what needs to be different, or this is what needs to change, or this is what needs to improve, or what this is what needs to be removed, but how bad? What's at stake? What's the consequence? What pleasure is waiting for you and you're missing out on by not taking care of that? What are you missing out on right now? What have you missed out on in the past, right? What would you get if you got that? We need to ask these questions and get real deep answers, real honest answers at what's really on the line, what's at stake. How much more threatening is the status quo than change? And that's what it comes down to. And that's what we as coaches need to know. And as soon as we can identify that and get the prospect clued in, no pun intended, but as soon as prospect clued in to we're talking about change, and all right, this is what you say needs to be different, but do you need it to be different so bad that you're willing to change and be held to account? That's what the sooner we can figure that out in complementary coaching, we're not coaching, we're not resolving the problem. We're just finding out how bad they want to resolve the problem. Would they be willing to be coached? Would they be willing to be coachable? Would they be willing to invest in coaching? Does it hurt that much to not have what they want or to be living with what they're living with? Pleasure and pain. We need to know that, and we need to bring that out and establish that leverage so that we've got a stronger foundation when it comes time to ask if they want us to be their coach. So now, at this point, if we've done a good job, we're ready to assign homework. And I've talked about the homework that I always assign, usually 90-something% of the time, is goal setting. But I've worked with all kinds of other leaders to help them easily identify what homework assignment they can assign in between a first session and a second session when they're seeking permission to lead somebody else in any form of leadership. It's very easy to come up with a 30 to 60-minute homework assignment that, even if it's just a draft, you just need to create some opportunity for them to do something in between the first and second session that they wouldn't have done without your coaching, so that you're giving them this sample of what coaching is going to be like with you. They're going to have assignments. They're going to make commitments. There's going to be intervals in between sessions. They're going to have self-talk about whether they do or don't do the thing they committed to or not, whether they do or don't show up to the second session, which we're getting to, right? You have to go through the mechanics of assigning homework. And if you miss this step, you are now trying to build a mansion on what may be quicksand. And we can get better and better and better at how to do this and how many options are available for this. And if you told me whatever form of leader you are, I can immediately come up with a homework assignment that you can give to a prospect for your leadership, somebody that you want You want their permission to lead them, whether it's paying you or whether it's getting engaged in their job. If you're their supervisor manager, I can easily give you and coach you on a perfect assignment that would move them closer towards engagement, enrollment in your leadership. Okay, I digress. Tip number 18 then was last week, right? And this was all about scheduling the second comp. And you can see I put in parentheses here, decision session. Decision session. Reminding you that we want to set these expectations. All right, so we've done this and we've done this and we've done this and we've done this. Would you like a second session? Okay, great. One condition, you have to agree to doing the homework I assigned, agree to let me hold you accountable, and then we'll conduct the second session, at the end of which I'll ask you if you want me to be your coach. Does that sound good? And I'm paraphrasing a little bit, and when we get into the tip reading of today's tip, there's more dialogue or sample language that I'll share with you. But Sue, as I review these tips and want to take another sip of my coffee and take a deep breath before I settle in on a word for word, can I invite you in and lean on you a little bit, invite you into the conversation and ask, do you have any feedback on my review of the tips in this section? Because we are in the section on offering 2 complimentary coaching sessions that getting us ready to win the game of enrollment and actually get clients to start making money as a coach so that we can grow our businesses and help more people and train coaches and hire coaches and be part of greater program, blah, 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 blah. What's your feedback so far before we get into today's tip, which is to actually conduct a second complimentary session? How does that go? And how is it different from the first, etc.? But let me take a sip of coffee and catch my breath here. Do you have any comments or feedback so far?
Sure. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
And what I love about the tips that you provide is that they are clearly articulated. They structure so well together to provide that framework to see success in what you're talking about, that journey of getting that engagement and then moving into having the shift from a prospect into a client through this process. And they're so well structured. They're clear and very easy to work with. So that's certainly one thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, if I'm ever complimenting myself, it's never my analytics or my systematic approach or my detailed, or it's never the analytics side, because I'm so blatantly empathic and emotive and people oriented and 20,000 feet elevation and details, right? Yet when I do sit down for a moment and sit still and gather my thoughts, right? There is a very chronological approach to this that makes it easy to follow. Yeah. And this doesn't come because I'm such an analytical person. I just learned through teaching public speaking, starting at San Diego State University and then in the community college district. I'm happy to announce, by the way, if you have any sons and daughters out there that are going to San Diego State, Professor Kluby, I was invited back to teach in the fall. Not organizational communication, but I'll be teaching 2 sections I'm slated right now. Things could change, but as of right now, I'm slated to teach 2 sections of 103, oral communication, public speaking. So I'm going to get back into getting people past the fear of public speaking in the classroom, but I'd stay consistent at San Diego State and position myself for other projects and opportunities, etc. So it's a neat thing, a neat part of the identity. But my point is, when I learned how to teach Speech 103, when you're helping students do topic selection, right? So that at some point in this public speaking process, you got to pick a topic, and then you got to break that topic down into 3 main points. And they go, oh no, because every topic is huge. Any topic, you can talk forever. How do you break it down? So there's these very simple frames that help us organize our thoughts. It's called organizational types. So one is chronological: first, then, next, finally. That makes it easy for an audience or a reader to follow along, as a chronological time frame. Other times it's a categorical type frame, like Italian food, Mexican food, American food. You follow, where categories are the organizing principle, right? And very similarly, there's another organization like space or geography, like north, south, east, west. You follow, so spatial geographical can help an audience follow us. chronological, first, next, categorical can help. There's these easy frames, and it's just after 20 years, I guess, of helping students organize their thoughts. I guess I rubbed off on myself, and my thoughts are organized here. And there's a chronological and there's categorical, like the 5 categories and the progression. How do I order these 5 well, self-promotion, then enroll, then deliver, then build a business. So even the 5 categories themselves have a chronological organizational pattern, right? And so anyway, thank you for noticing that. I'm ready to rock and roll. Any other comments or questions before we get into
Not
today's
at the moment.
All right. So yeah, that's cool. Cool little tangent there. I'm excited that I just yesterday I got the news that I'm going back in the fall. I didn't know if I was going to be back in the fall, but now I do. It's great. I love San Diego State University. All right. So tip number 19 on page number 78 from Get a Klu 52 for coaches, myself included. Here we go. We're now beginning to conduct the second session. We just got done setting it after delivering the first complimentary session. And now in a second comp session, your chances of enrolling are higher than ever, but you still have a lot of work to do, starting with getting present to tip number 13 and setting expectations for the second session, all of them. Here's a summary of the expectations I set for the second session using sample language I'm likely to use in doing so. Expect a literally noteworthy experience. Quote, welcome back to coaching. Are you ready to take notes and get started? Next bullet point, expect to learn the difference between the first and second comp session. Quote, the first thing I want you to know is that the first session we did was unique. It doesn't repeat. We had to take extra time getting to know each other and identifying your goal areas, etc. Today is different because in this session, I will show you exactly what ongoing coaching sessions will be like. Now I'm going to read the first bullet point and the second bullet point, just the sample language, but I'm going to read them together without the categorical prompting. So I've got these bullet points that have kind of like a categorical prompting on the objective I'm trying to achieve. And then the quote is sample language I might use when trying to achieve this objective, which is setting expectations. So this is how it may sound. Welcome back to coaching. Are you ready to take notes and get started? The first thing I want you to know is that the first session we did was unique. It doesn't repeat. We had to take our extra time to get to know each other and identifying your goal areas, etc. But today is different because in this session, I'm going to show you exactly what ongoing sessions will be like. The next bullet point is expect an overview and experience of the 4-section anatomy of a coaching session. So you see here, it's like expect. Do you see that, Sue? Are you following along? I'm noting, I'm making a list of the things that we want to, expectations that we want to set for people, and I'm giving, right? So I think I'm going to, it's like it's kind of awkward to read it because I want to stay in rhythm of how it sounds, right? And read them all together. But interrupt me at any time if you want me to. So here we go. Quote. This is for setting the expectation that they're going to get an overview of the 4-session anatomy. And there's an anatomy of coaching sessions. There's a 4-section anatomy. Quote, ongoing social, I'm going so fast now because of the coffee. Ongoing coaching sessions have 4 basic sections. I'll briefly explain those to you so you know what we are doing each step of the way. By the end, you will have a really good feeling for how coaching will work for you. So you can say that any way you want, but I'm trying to give you sample language, right? Hey, every coaching session has 4 basic sections to it. So I'm going to explain what these 4 sections are. Then I'm going to actually run you through it. And that's what I say to people. I'm going to give you an overview and an experience, of these 4 sections of a coaching session anatomy. All right. The next expectation, expect to initiate or accept an enrollment conversation or a decision conversation. Quote, at the end of the session, you'll know if you want to proceed with coaching, and it will only take a couple of minutes to discuss your options. Sound good? Like, how simple is that? See, like, is that like one of the most simple ways I've ever said it? I'm even impressed with how simple that sounds for me. You know me, I'm so verbose. At the end of the session, you will know if you want to proceed with coaching, and it will only take a couple of minutes to discuss your options. Sound good? Okay, now back to reading word for word. While this is not the context to teach all 4 sections and how to deliver them effectively, I can offer some additional overarching tips for delivering a second session, whether you do it my way or any other way. After you have set the expectations above, here are some additional things I always make sure I do, and I'm encouraging you to make sure you do in order to increase rate of enrollment. Number 1, little pink spoon. Remind yourself constantly and the prospect when appropriate that this is a sample session. The goal is for the prospect to sample all 4 sections of the session or whatever major elements of a session you were trained to deliver. This is critical because it allows you to politely preempt, interrupt, or intervene on any rabbit holes that take you away from the goal of enrolling. Right? Is that worth rereading? This is critical because it allows you to politely preempt, interrupt, or intervene on any rabbit holes that take you away from the goal of enrolling. I'm going to let that settle. If you're a coach out there and you're watching a recording of this and you've struggled getting clients, or you haven't gotten clients yet, or you don't know if you'll ever get clients, or is it worth it, I'm struggling, etc., you know it's because in your coaching sessions you end up going down rabbit holes and you're not able to cut those off and keep the context of the coaching to a sample. You want to coach. You want to coach the whole thing. You want to solve it now. You want to prove your worth. You want to show them you can. You go down the rabbit hole and you could never come back up to an enrollment conversation. You're lost. So it's worth just spending a good deep breath on this one. And let me go ahead and proceed. Quote, in ongoing coaching, we would unpack that a bit further, but today, let's note it and move on so we get a sample of all 4 sections. I hope I just changed your life right there if you're a struggling coach, because that sentence right there will save so many of you from going down the rabbit hole and keeping you in the realm of continuing to give a sample of what they can expect when they enroll with you without coaching and solving their problem before they enroll with you. Okay. Quote, in ongoing coaching, I would ask you to share as many wins as you would like. But since today's is a sample, I will ask for your single greatest win. Same with challenges. In ongoing coaching, you'll share as many as you feel you want or need to share. But today, I will ask you to share one. You hear what I did there, Sue? Right? Hey, in ongoing coaching, you can share as many wins as you want. In ongoing coaching, you can share as many challenges as you want. But today, because this is a sample, I'm going to ask you to share one win and one challenge. Little pink spoon. I literally have the pink spoon in my hand mentally. Do you know what I'm saying? It's literally that mindset that I conjured, that I'm literally giving somebody a pink spoon. I don't feel like I'm giving them a pint or a quart or a scoop or a triple scoop or a, right? Enough for them to make a good decision. Next, at least one SMART goal. Of the 3 SMART goals they had committed to drafting, somewhere in the session, I have to work with them to make sure at least one of them is calibrated into an effective SMART form. It is ideal if I can get all 3 goals calibrated, but I need to get them through all 4 sections in less than 60 minutes. So it is a sufficient sample of the experience of goal setting to calibrate one. So just to explain what I mean here, the homework I assign is goal setting, and I take people through a SMART goal setting process. I add an A and change the R. So I get to explain that, which demonstrates subject matter expertise, infuses motivation and accountability into their homework, and then it gives you something tangible to follow up on. So now I'm in the second session, and somewhere in these 4 sections, I'm going to find out, yes or no, did they do their homework? And then of the 3 goals that they've drafted for the 3 scissor areas, they found out what they want to change, improve, create, or remove. And I've asked them to draft a SMART goal for each of those 3 scissor areas that we peeled onions to get to. My job is to hear what all 3 of those goals are, what they came up with, what they drafted. But what I'm saying right here at the bottom of page 79 is I need to make sure at least one of them is calibrated and passes the SMART test, so that I can then get them to commit to the next action item on that goal. So that by the end of 2 sessions, they will have gotten clear on what they want. They will have committed to drafting a goal around it. They will have calibrated that goal and made a commitment to the very first action item towards achieving that goal. And it's after that that I really am excited to ask them if they want me to be their coach. So again, the thing that I'm trying, this is one of the things I recommend, right? You don't have to do any of this the way I do it, but this is what's worked for me over the years. Of the 3 SMART goals they had committed to drafting somewhere in the session, I have to work with them to make sure at least one of them is calibrated into an effective SMART form. It is ideal if I can get all 3 goals calibrated, but I need to get them through all 4 sections in less than 60 minutes. Again, back to my purpose. I need to give them a sample of all 4 sections. So once I've calibrated one goal, I won't go down a rabbit hole on number 2 and number 3. I'll say, hey, you want to know what? So that we can get through all 4 sections today, let me suggest that you work with this for homework. And should you choose to come back, for additional coaching, we can wrestle with it. But for now, I'm pleased that we've got one goal calibrated. You've got one action item committed to, and these other 2 goals, you might need to go back to the drawing board and run them through the SMART filter again. Is that fair? But we have enough of a sample session now to move on to conclude and honor your time if you're ready to move forward. That's how it might sound. Does this make sense, Sue, or to anybody else that's listening?
It does make sense.
So as I turn the page, so as to conclude the tip, or the third thing that I'm recommending that you guys do, again, I'm not teaching what the 4 sections are. I'm not teaching you how to conduct them, and I'm not teaching you mastery level on how to conduct them. I'm saying, hey, guess what? I do have time in today's tip to give you some overarching suggestions on what you want to achieve in the second complementary section, right? Number 1, set all the expectations. Number 2, remind yourself constantly that this is a sample to not go down any rabbit holes. Number 3, make sure you get at least one of those SMART goals calibrated into SMART form so you can get them to commit to the very first action item so they feel what it's like to progress. Remember chronological, stacking. Yeses in the progress And then finally, let me read. At least one SMART assignment. Well, I previewed that. There it is. Here, this is it. If you get a chance, clear this, right? Why do you want to get at least one SMART goal calibrated? Well, here we go. Because you want to get at least one SMART assignment. Another reason I must get at least one goal into SMART form is so I can assign a new action item, new homework that will make specific progress towards a calibrated goal or toward calibrated SMART goal. To experience how coaching will really work, the prospect must build on their prior commitment to draft goals and now take the next step of committing to a new action that they would not have taken without coaching. That moves them toward achieving the new goal. It can be any assignment as long as it has a logical relationship to the goal that was calibrated. So there you go. Send an email. This is the last call to action here. Send an email to info@getaklu.net for a 1-hour audio with a fill-in-the-blank worksheet on anatomy of a coaching session training module, where I do explain the 4 sections a little deeper, taking someone through the experience and help enrollment. So that's today's freebie offer, is that if you send an email that says anatomy, subject title anatomy or anatomy of a coaching session, then I'll send you an audio or maybe a video. I've got videos on this too, audio or video with a worksheet that you can fill in that explains what are the 4 sections of the anatomy of a coaching session and what are some nuances on how to deliver them when it's complementary. Remember, we're giving a sample. When they enroll in coaching with us, then we deliver these 4 sections like in full, right? But how do we give a sample of these 4 sections versus, in my mentoring, my group mentoring, my coaching leadership training, we get into how do we deliver these in full. But I'll give you a little taste, a little snap, a little snippet of that full training, that full mentoring experience if you send me an email to info@getaklu.net with the subject line anatomy of a coaching session. We'll give you an audio, we'll give you a worksheet, and you'll understand more about what coaching leadership training and or group mentoring is like with me. But this is all free that we're doing weekly to give you tastes and sprinkles and snippets and nuggets and interactivity and some pro bono and some social media footprints and some content and on and on and on. So we're trying to string a lot of pearls here. We're trying to feed a lot of birds with one grain. But there you have it. That's tip number 19 from Get a Klu in 52 for coaches, myself included, making sure you all know that as much as I clearly have to teach emerging and aspiring coaches, I'm still learning. I'm still struggling with all of this stuff. So this is, as I was writing this for you guys, I got a lot out of it myself, and I continue to every week, and I'll say this again, coming off, I got final grades to grade and final grades to input, but we're done with classes. Earlier this week, we had our final class sessions at San Diego State. And, it's never been more true for me in my life that if you want to learn something, endeavor to teach it. And so this is for myself included. Thank you guys for being audience and allowing me to give myself the therapy of solopreneuring in the coaching world. But what comments, questions now, Sue, might you have at this point? Well, thank you for joining. Yeah.
Pleasure. And What came to mind as you were going through, so on page 79, there's some samples of dialogue and the way
Yeah.
the language that you use. What came to mind there is that infusing what you're or what you're sharing with the reminder of this is a sample. I guess what came to mind for me was doing it that way. It's allowing the prospect to subconsciously work through that decision-making process, because as you're moving through that session with them, they're going to be constantly asking the question, is this someone I want to work with or not? Are they going to give me value? And because you're infusing that language with the reminders, this is a sample, this is a sample, it's almost giving them permission to work through work through that decision-making process.
The dogs agree with you. They're like, yeah, Sue, that's exactly right. Yeah, 100%. I mean, this is what it's all about. Sue, that's such important insight. I mean, if I haven't made enough mention of it, wow, they're really going crazy, those dogs. Hey, you guys, calm down, guys. Calm down. Calm down. Hang on, what's going on? Hang on a second. There's something abnormal happening. And it's happening live.
They don't really like that.
Hey, I'm sorry. Oh, hey, what's up? Okay, I got it. Come on in. It's okay. Just give him a treat. Oh, fantastic. Hey, you guys, this is a fantastic treat. It's T-Bone. Dr. T-Bone is in the house all the way from Los Angeles. We know how to get the dogs going. So that's what's abnormal. This is live. This session just got so much more exciting. We'll wrap up here in a second. See, food is the great equalizer. I'm like, something abnormal, something that never happens before. Okay, schmoopies. All right. Excellent. That was kind of fun. Thank you for that. I was like, wow, the dogs are super excited. At first, I thought it was at your brilliant insight, Sue. But now what I realize is it's Uncle T-Bone. Dr. T-Bone is in the house. Cannot wait to end this session and give my man some love after driving down from Los Angeles. We're going, that didn't last long. Just hug them up and they'll be fine. Like as soon as you give them hugs and lovies, they'll be fine. Okay, thanks, T-Bone. All right, so here we go. Yes. What we need to keep in mind the entire time, Sue, right, is that the curse of knowledge, right? We are familiar with coaching. We know what it's like. We know what the value is. We know, but they don't. They don't even, first of all, they don't know if they want to coach or if they need a shrink or they don't know if they need help. They don't know if they're ready to be fun. So this is why this is one of the great reasons why 2 sessions instead of 1, 0, or more than 2, right? The people out there, now they pay attention, slow down. If you're out there and you're offering 1 complimentary coaching session, forgive me for saying this, but stop it. Because one, it's not going to work. It's not going to work because they're going to come to the session like this. And you have to, and if you're offering a 30, a 40, a 45-minute session, even if you're offering an hour, even if you're offering 90 minutes, if that's all you've got, first of all, how much time is it going to take you to get their guard down? Because they're apprehensive. They don't know how vulnerable they want to be. They don't know if they trust you. They don't know who you are. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Hopefully you come well trusted, or they saw you speak, or there's some way, you got to start getting this out of the way to have a good conversation at all. And then if you don't do some of these other things that we are really being clear about, remind them it's a sample. So you don't go down rabbit hole. You're still going to have to transition at some point into saying, do you want me to be your coach? And you're going to have to transition from giving the sample of what coaching will be like to having an enrollment conversation, different hats, different, and it's gotta be fluid. If anybody's ever driven a stick shift car, you slowly press down on the gas as you're letting off the clutch. You don't herky jerky too fast, it could stall the thing. So there's a rhythm, there's a fluidity as you take somebody on this journey, and you're not only escorting them towards comfort and ease and honesty and relax and get the guard down and non-threatening. That's what the whole integrity game is all about, right? Like that's one of the greatest taglines that I've come up with recently. I'm trying it out here. Ready? The integrity game. What are we trying to do? What's the game all about? It's to make accountability non-threatening.
Yeah.
Like I'm on a mission to make accountability non-threatening. Well, how are you doing that? I play the integrity game. Now I got a new elevator pitch for networking, right? But you're hitting on it, right? Because people to just the mindset to believe that you need a coach. you have to admit something unbecoming about yourself, and that's the hardest thing for people to do. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
really have to make it as easy as possible for people to just take an honest look at themselves. And we want to make it safe and safer and even safer than that. And if we can make it funny and jovial, which increases the feeling of safety and authenticity, like what you're talking about, the insight that you just shared, that's what all of this is about, is the safety of the prospect.
Yeah.
In making a safe decision.
Mm.
I certainly don't want anybody's money in any other way other than that they're absolutely grateful to pay me.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't want any money any other way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you understand? That's how
Well, then that gives you permission
Yeah.
further down the track to do what you need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Then they don't feel manipulated, coerced, hoodwinked, bamboozled. Because when the real work of change gets hard, guess what they're going to do? What about you, coach? What about you, coach? I didn't sign up for this. Yes, you did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not budging. You're not paying me to budge. I'm going to hold you accountable. And it's all easier. It's all a hot knife through warm butter down the road if we do a good job up front, if we do the good job here. But it's all about the safety of the client. And they're not going to, this is a very risky decision to hire a coach. It's a very vulnerability provoking decision and process to consider working with a coach, to consider having somebody else run your life. And that's like, I'm summoning my mom, right? Like, that's my mom's voice. You're trying to run our life, Jeffrey? No, I'm just holding myself accountable to being a good son, which means I'm asking you questions because I care about you. If you don't have the answers you're proud of, don't get pissed at me. I'm still going to ask you, because when I look myself in the mirror, that's what a good son does. I'm not trying to run your life, but who is? Can I meet the person who's running it? You know what I mean? Like, anyway, so you follow, we're all processing issues in all of this work. It's so funny. But my point is safe. We got to make it safe. People will avoid accountability like the plague until it's too late. And we've got a job to do in making it safe, helping people make the decision to invest in us, to enroll in us, to engage with us, so that we can lead. And that doesn't mean we're perfect, and that doesn't mean we don't need our own leadership in our own lives. It just means that we know what we're doing, and we care so much that we're going to work at it. We're going to build the skill sets, and we're going to be committed to continual mentoring and continual training and continual vulnerabilities in our own right, so that we can bring stuff to the table in a structured, systematic way that has lots of freedom for anybody's personality to fit into these frameworks that I'm laying out for everybody on a weekly basis. You're just seeing my personality and how my personality delivers these things. But I really believe that this can work for any personality, with any dialogues that are comfortable for you, with any homework assignment you want to assign, with any way you want to phrase the questions, whatever it is, right? I'm just excited to promote the value of the practice of coaching, the profession of coaching, the form of leadership and personal and professional growth that coaching provides. I think I've gotten pretty good at it over the years. I aspire to be better, and there's no way I can get better unless I teach it. Got to teach it. Got to keep teaching it. And so thank you for that. What else, Sue, as we go? Last call with 2 minutes left in today's live stream. Last call for comments, questions about tip number 19 overall, which is tip number 8 in our enrollment or engagement section. We're conducting the second complimentary coaching session. Any other comments or questions here?
No, that's it.
All right, let me just go ahead and put this Kluby snack in here then, and we'll end up. The dogs are going crazy. This is critical because it allows you to politely. I thought this was so good. Polite, like the best line of the whole tip. Interrupt or intervene on any rabbit hole. Oh, no, not enough text characters. Only 200 per Kluby snack. So it's got to be a different snack for a different time. So funny. That's so funny. Wait, no, I can do it really quick. Hang on. It's so funny. Ooh, I know you. So it's like, it always takes longer when this is critical. Intervene on any rabbit holes that take you away from the goal of enrolling. Ding, ding. There it is. All right. Woo-hoo. So first of all, here's one. Remind yourself constantly and the prospect when appropriate that this is a sample. This is critical because it allows you to politely preempt, interrupt, or intervene on any rabbit holes that take you away from the goal of enrolling and engagement. So there you have it. Tip number 19 is now complete. Thank you, Sue, for allowing me to bring this to you and being so consistently here to make it interactive and fun. And when you're on the line, I think I get more jovial, more silly, more animated. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Sue, for all your support. Appreciate you. And we'll see you next week or any other time that we need to get together. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time for tip number 20, Get a Clue in 52 for coaches, myself included. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye now.